The Northeast is under siege, and nature is proving once again that it remains the ultimate force.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan. We've got a severe weather threat developing across the northeastern United States from New England down through the mid-Atlantic on Saturday. So in this video, I'm going to take a look at some of the computer models we're looking at, some of the data that's just coming in, and talk about the threat that exists and why we're looking at the threat for severe thunderstorms, including tornadoes. If you like this video or you like some of the other ones we've done, please subscribe, like, comment. It helps grow a conversation, dialogue between me and you, so you have a better idea of what we're thinking, what we're looking at, and ideally something that can give you some actionable information to keep you safe and keep you prepared for the.
So what exactly is happening? Why is this storm so dangerous? And what does this mean for the millions of people in its path? To understand the magnitude of this crisis, we need to look at the numbers. A severe thunderstorm watch has been issued covering parts of the Northeast from Maryland to Maine until 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This includes the entire Interstate 95 corridor, the backbone of East Coast transportation and commerce. We're talking about Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston, all under the same weather threat simultaneously. When you consider that the I-95 corridor alone houses over 50 million people, you begin to grasp the scale of what we're dealing with. But this isn't just about the sheer number of people affected. It's about the type of weather system that's causing this chaos. The meteorological setup behind this is textbook dangerous weather. A cold front is sweeping across the region, and when you combine that trigger mechanism with extreme humidity levels, dew points reaching into the 70s, plus significant wind shear of 40 to 50 knots, you're creating the perfect recipe for atmospheric chaos.
So the threat has gone up. It has more than doubled in the last couple of hours, right? So this is now afternoon, East Coast, and the threat has gone up because of some of the ingredients in the atmosphere. So we'll talk about that. I want to show you this now and really get you ready for the next few hours. The National Weather Service has just put out a discussion about this, so we'll get into that too. But it is a threat for up to an EF2 tornado, so 115 mile per hour wind. It would be brief, but it would be certainly a lot of damage to anyone that would see.
Right now, as you watch this video, more than 25 million Americans are in the crosshairs of a dangerous weather system that's turning Saturday evening into a nightmare for millions. Meteorologists have been tracking this developing threat for days, watching as computer models showed increasingly alarming patterns. We're talking about severe thunderstorms, flash flooding, and the potential for tornadoes stretching from Maryland all the way to Maine. This isn't just another storm, this is a multi-state weather emergency that's putting some of America's most densely populated areas at risk, and the stakes could not be higher for millions of Americans.
We look for a couple of things when we're forecasting thunderstorms. One, you need that trigger. So we've got, in this case, we've got a cold front moving in, and that low-level convergence will help fire up some storms. But before you get the storm, you need some instability. The atmosphere has to be unstable. Otherwise, you won't get any thunderstorms, even with a cold front. So let's look at that instability. This is called CAPE, Convective Available Potential Energy. We use a lot of acronyms in the weather world, and this is just another one. But the higher the CAPE number, the more unstable the atmosphere, and the faster you can get acceleration in a thunderstorm. And I'm going to bring this here to Saturday morning. Not a lot of instability to start the day. No surprise. Normally in the morning when it's cooler, you don't have a lot of instability, but watch what happens by afternoon. You've got a lot of thunderstorm fuel from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore up through Philly, over toward New York, the Hudson Valley, Connecticut, Massachusetts. Atmosphere is very ripe, very unstable. And that's why we expect these thunderstorms to form. But you need one more thing to get severe weather, and that is wind shear. Wind shear effectively allows storms to organize, and the more they organize, the higher the shear, the higher the instability, the stronger they can be. And you can get supercell thunderstorms, or storms that start to rotate if you've got the right balance between CAPE and shear. And I want to show you that shear here. Let's go to Saturday afternoon. Notice this red shading. That's about 40 to the white shading is about 50 knots of shear between 0 and 6 kilometers above our head. So, a couple miles up, right? And that's a lot. I mean, we look at a threshold, about 30 knots is the threshold you need for severe weather. 35 knots is better. 40 knots is pretty good. 40 to 50 knots is really good. And so that tells me that
strong to severe thunderstorms are sweeping across the region as this cold front pushes through, and the primary hazard isn't what most people expect. The biggest threat from these storms is strong, potentially damaging wind gusts. These aren't gentle breezes. We're talking about winds capable of downing power lines, uprooting trees, and turning everyday objects into projectiles. The storm system doesn't stop there. Isolated large hail is also possible. And perhaps most concerning of all, meteorologists cannot rule out a brief tornado or two, especially for locations in northern New England. The tornado threat has actually increased significantly in recent hours. What started as a 2 to 4% probability has jumped to 5 to 9%, which might not sound like much, but for a region like Maine that typically sees only 1 or 2 tornadoes per year, this represents an extraordinary threat level. The potential isn't just for weak tornadoes either. Forecasters are warning of the possibility of EF2 tornadoes with winds up to 115 miles per hour, strong enough to cause significant structural damage, particularly for areas that rarely experience such extreme weather events.
Level 2s do happen in Maine and New Hampshire. They are somewhat rare, but this is the overall threat for severe thunderstorms today. Level 2 out of 5. So 5 is the highest, 1's the lowest. So level 2, Farmington, Skowhegan, Clinton, Waterville, okay, Augusta, Norway, Lewiston, Freiburg, Conway, New Hampshire, Rochester, New Hampshire. Portland, you are in that threat. This extreme southern coast is less of a threat. Okay, we'll see what the marine layer does there. But really here, the focus of this live broadcast is even more so is the tornado threat and the wind too, okay, and the wind threat. Those are the greatest threats here, right? Wind is the greatest threat. Tornado, though, 5 to 9% is relatively high for Maine and New Hampshire, northern New England, okay? So, and if you're watching, feel free, give me the comments and I'll get back to them. I'm trying to keep up with the comments here. I see some comments coming in. So I will periodically go and answer questions. So put them in the comments, okay? So let's talk about the threat here. So, people have been joking around about how,
Think about that for a moment. Tornadoes in an area where most buildings and infrastructure aren't designed to withstand such extreme weather events. The Hudson Valley, western Connecticut, western and central Massachusetts, and parts of eastern New York and southern New Hampshire are all in the highest risk zones. These are densely populated areas with older construction that could be particularly vulnerable to tornado damage. But the real danger might be hiding in plain sight: flash flooding. Any slow-moving thunderstorms with torrential rain could trigger localized flash flooding, especially in urban areas with poor drainage systems. This is where the geography of the Northeast works against its residents. Decades of urban development have created vast expanses of concrete and asphalt that can't absorb rainwater. When heavy rain falls, it has nowhere to go except into storm drains that are often inadequate for the volume of water these storms can produce. The flash flooding threat is so serious that meteorologists have issued the highest risk level, level 2 of 4, stretching from Philadelphia all the way to Bridgeport, Connecticut. This isn't a casual warning. Level 2 flash flood risks indicate that multiple rounds of heavy rain from overlapping and training storms will be capable of producing localized to scattered areas of flash flooding. The term training storms is particularly ominous. It describes when multiple thunderstorm cells move over the same area repeatedly, like cars on a train track, dumping enormous amounts of rain in a short period. What makes this situation even more dangerous is the timing. The critical window for severe weather has been identified as between PM and PM Eastern Time, with the peak threat occurring between and PM. Supercell thunderstorms, the most dangerous type of thunderstorm capable of producing all forms of severe weather, are expected to develop and move through the southwest T interior regions, bringing the potential for damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour, golf ball-sized hail, and those brief but dangerous tornadoes. This timing coincides with when millions of people are traveling for weekend activities or simply going about their normal routines, making this one of the most dangerous weather windows of the entire year.
And even more so around 4 to 7. That's really between 4 and 7 o'clock here. okay, and especially the southwest interior. Now, the Weather Service is going to cover themselves right here, and I'll show you on the tornado, and it's really anywhere in here, right, where this could happen, but especially in the southwest interior of Maine, okay, especially. And I'll bring up right now the live radar so you can see this here on WeatherWise. So what you have here is the threat zone discussion from the Weather Service. So they have 85 to 115 mile an hour peak tornado intensity. That means not everyone's going to see that, but that would be the worst it can be. Now, I will tell you, living in Oklahoma for a month, that and seeing what happened in Kansas a couple nights ago, there was hail that was up to teacup size when it wasn't supposed to be that big. Now, it's a whole different environment in Oklahoma and in Kansas, but still, the Weather Service has 85 to 115. I agree, that's up to EF2 tornado potential, okay? That's as high as it's going to get. I don't see EF3 would be.
Flash floods can develop with little warning, turning familiar streets into raging rivers in a matter of minutes. Urban areas are particularly vulnerable because the concrete jungle effect means water has nowhere to go but up, and fast. The combination of extreme instability in the atmosphere, strong wind shear, and abundant moisture is creating conditions that meteorologists describe as increasingly impressive with each computer model RU. In weather forecasting, impressive is rarely good news for those in the storm's path. What's particularly concerning about this system is its persistence. The storms are expected to continue into the overnight hours, meaning the threat won't end when the sun goes down. In fact, nighttime can make severe weather even more dangerous because people can't see approaching storms. Flooded roads become nearly impossible to navigate safely, and emergency response becomes more challenging. The National Weather Service has been clear about the multiple hazards this system presents. Damaging winds, large hail, and frequent lightning will be possible early Saturday evening into the overnight hours across the affected area. To put this in perspective, let's look at some of the major population centers under threat. Philadelphia, with its metropolitan area of over 6 million people, sits right in the bullseye of the flash flood risk zone. New York City, home to over 8 million residents, is under both the severe thunderstorm watch and faces the potential for significant flash flooding. Boston, while not facing the highest threat levels, is still expected to experience strong storms that could disrupt the weekend plans of millions. Areas from Lincoln, Maine, down through Hartford, Connecticut, are all within the severe weather threat zone. The economic implications are staggering. The I-95 corridor isn't just where people live, it's where America does business. This region accounts for a massive portion of the nation's economic activity, from the financial centers of New York to the ports of Baltimore and the technology hubs of Boston. When severe weather strikes this area, the ripple effects can be felt across the entire country. Transportation systems are particularly vulnerable. Airports throughout the region are likely to experience delays and cancellations. Amtrak service along the busy Northeast Corridor could face disruptions. Local transit systems, from New York's subway to Philadelphia's SEPTA, may need to suspend or modify service if flooding occurs. For millions of people who depend on public transportation, this could mean being stranded or facing dangerous travel conditions. The human element of this story cannot be overlooked. Behind every weather warning are real people making real decisions about their safety. Parents trying to decide whether to let their children play outside, commuters wondering if they should leave work early, emergency responders preparing for what could be a very long night. These are the faces behind the statistics, the individuals whose lives are directly impacted by nature's fury. What makes this particular weather event even more significant is its timing in the broader context of extreme weather patterns. The Northeast has been experiencing an increasing frequency of severe weather events in recent years. Just this summer, the region has dealt with multiple rounds of damaging storms and flooding. This isn't just bad luck, it's part of a larger pattern that meteorologists and climate scientists have been tracking and predicting. The infrastructure challenges facing the Northeast during severe weather events like this one reveal deeper systemic issues. Many of the region's stormwater management systems were designed decades ago when extreme weather events were less frequent and less intense. Urban heat islands, where cities are significantly warmer than surrounding rural areas, can intensify thunderstorms. The combination of aging infrastructure and changing weather patterns creates a perfect storm for disaster. Emergency management officials across the region are taking this threat seriously. They've been coordinating response plans, positioning resources, and preparing for potential rescues. The American Red Cross and other disaster relief organizations are on standby. Hospital systems are reviewing their emergency protocols. This level of preparation indicates just how seriously authorities are taking this weather threat. For residents in the affected areas, the message from officials is clear. Take this seriously. Avoid unnecessary travel during the height of the storms. Never drive through flooded roads. It takes only 6 inches of moving water to knock down an adult, and just 12 inches can carry away a vehicle. If you encounter a flooded road, remember the phrase that saves lives. Turn around, don't drown. The technology behind weather prediction has never been better, yet events like this remind us that Mother Nature still holds the ultimate trump card. Doppler radar, satellite imagery, and computer modeling can tell us what's coming, but they can't stop it. They can't prevent the power outages, the flooded basements, or the fallen trees. What they can do is give us the information we need to stay safe, if we listen. Looking beyond Saturday night, the weather pattern offers some hope. Cooler air will be sweeping in behind this front, bringing what meteorologists describe as refreshing, fall-like air from the Midwest into the Northeast for the second half of the weekend. This cooler air mass should help stabilize the atmosphere and bring an end to the severe weather threat. However, in true fall fashion, this cooler air won't stick around for long. Gradual warming is expected throughout the following week from west to east. This pattern of rapid weather changes, from severe storms to pleasant conditions and back again, is becoming increasingly common in the Northeast, keeping both meteorologists and residents on their toes. The broader implications of events like this extend far beyond the immediate weather threat. They highlight the vulnerability of urban areas to extreme weather, the importance of infrastructure investment, and the need for individuals and communities to be prepared for rapid changes in weather conditions. As climate patterns continue to evolve, events like this, Saturday's severe weather outbreak, may become more frequent rather than less. For the 25 million people currently under weather alerts, the next several hours will be crucial. The combination of severe thunderstorms, flash flooding potential, and the possibility of tornadoes creates a complex and dangerous situation that requires vigilance, preparation, and respect for the power of nature. As this weather system continues to develop and move through the region, it serves as a stark reminder that despite all our technological advances and urban development, we are still at the mercy of the atmosphere. The best we can do is stay informed, stay prepared, and stay safe. For those in the affected areas, this Saturday evening isn't just another night. It's a test of preparedness, community resilience, and respect for the awesome power of severe weather. The story of this storm is still being written. By the time the sun rises on Sunday, we'll know the full extent of its impact. Until then, 25 million Americans wait, watch, and weather the storm.